This is TechKnow, a show about innovations that can change lives.
The science of fighting a wildfire.
We're going to explore the intersection of hardware and humanity, and we're doing it in a unique way. This is a show about science
Oh my God.
by scientists. Tonight, TechKnow investigates mining the deep. Dr. Shini Samara is a mechanical engineer. Tonight, one company's ambitious plan that could be worth a fortune in gold, silver, and copper.
Some mining companies see this, and they think minerals, metals, and a whole lot of money.
Marita Davison is a biologist specializing in ecology and evolution. Can science and industry coexist?
Industry's motivation is to make profit.
Then, I'm Phil Torres, I'm an entomologist. I usually work in the jungle, but this time I go on the journey of a lifetime. 10 days off the coast of Costa Rica, including a dive in a submarine.
Launch altitude is 3,200 meters, clear to dive when the swimmers are clear.
That will take me down to 10,000 feet under the sea.
I get paid to play with mud. It's like my 3-year-old dream.
That's our team. Now let's do some science.
Hey guys, welcome to TechKnow. I'm Phil Torres, joined by Marita Davison and Dr. Shini Samara. Guys, 70% of the Earth is covered in ocean, yet we know more about the surface of other planets than we do the surface down at the bottom of our ocean. So my question to you is, why should we care about what's down there?
We're just now starting to understand how important the ocean and the deep ocean can be for driving processes that are really important on a global scale.
And it seems to be such a harsh landscape down there, and it's a long, long way down. And there are very few technologies that can actually get us down there, and you got the chance to experience it.
Yes, I did, and that's the challenge for these scientists. It's the average depth of the ocean is 11,000 feet. So even to try to get down there and just get a glimpse of it, it's really tricky. But I had the privilege of going on a ride in one of the submarines that can get down there. It's called Alvin, and it took me to the bottom of the sea. Take a look.
As we look for signs of life in space, these scientists of the deep are unlocking the secrets that lurk below.
What we're doing is similar to astronauts and planetary scientists try to study life on another planet.
Oceans cover 70% of the Earth's surface, with only a fraction of the undersea world explored,
Working at the bottom of the ocean is very difficult.
but not impossible. Today, we're traveling to Costa Rica to begin a mission researching an underwater mountain, the Dorado outcrop, which may hold clues to the Earth's climate system.
While biologists like me tend to focus our research on the rich biodiversity inland in Costa Rica, this team of researchers is taking us to explore 100 miles out to sea.
Just getting to the dive site is a major undertaking. We start in Punta Arenas, Costa Rica, and head to Atlantis, our floating home base for the next 12 days. One of the most sophisticated research vessels in the world. It's a Navy ship with a crew of 50 technicians and scientists. Its secret weapon is a middle-aged submarine with a nerdy name. Meet Alvin. We're going to the bottom of the seafloor, 10,000 feet below. Alvin is a deep-water submersible built for scientific research, capable of taking explorers down to over 20,000 feet under the sea. It once dove to the Titanic wreck in the North Atlantic, showing the world secrets of the famous sunken ship.
When you're in Alvin and you look out, you're looking at everything in 3 dimensions. As a scientist, it helps you define the whole geologic context.
The underwater world we've come to explore, the Dorado outcrop, is loaded with things scientists like to play with.
I get paid to play with mud. It's like my 3-year-old dream.
Only a handful of scientists have studied these muddy waters, rich with microbes, organisms that may offer clues to how life could survive on other planets.
Deep sediments in the ocean have one of the largest reservoirs of microbial life on Earth, which is kind of surprising, but also really awesome.
What are the big questions that you hope to answer as a scientist?
Well, from this site, the biggest question is, what is the fluid composition?
From fluid composition, researchers get a glimpse of Earth's deep water heating and cooling systems. Until the Dorado Outcrop expedition, there was never a location where scientists could sample the chemical breakdown of how the water changes as it is filtered through the Earth's crust.
Here in the ocean, you have the seawater that's circulating through the crust. So even if you take a little of the magnesium out, or a little of the calcium, or take away some of the carbon dioxide, you can have a great impact on those elements in the global ocean. Because even a 1% anomaly could be huge on a global scale.
Aboard Atlantis, technicians work around the clock prepping Alvin for its dive, as scientists fine-tune their experiments.
Tomorrow we're gonna go back here to marker M.
They're focusing attention on underwater vents where water shimmers out. This area is filled with clues on global water patterns and how all this life exists without any sunshine. The newly discovered scientific data is priceless, but comes at a cost.
The ship alone with the submersible is probably on the order of $50,000 a day.
And ensuring safety is a big priority.
There's no other Alvin, so all sorts of problems can crop up, but we have a lot of measures in place to make sure that safety is never compromised.
And before my dive, I get an extensive safety training right in the belly of the beast.
These are the redundant atmosphere detectors, and we'll use those all day long to monitor the gas back here. This is the underwater telephone. If you're ever underwater and you ever have a problem, go right to the UQC, right to the underwater telephone, and call the surface and say you need some assistance.
Apparently it gets pretty cold down there, so they told me to bring a cap, some nice wool socks, and a sweater. As with everything the Alvin crew does, nothing is left to the last minute. So I give this to them today, and it'll be waiting for me tomorrow on the sub.
My dive day is here. Shortly, I'll be taking a ride in Alvin to the bottom of the sea, and I'm trying to play it cool.
We just got our final call to go inside Alvin, and if all goes well, within a couple hours, I'll be 10,000 feet below, looking at a world that few people have ever seen, and to be honest, I'm pretty darn excited.
Nice entry, Bob. Nice job.
Launch altitude is 3,200 meters, clear to dive when the swimmers are clear.
3030.
Alvin descends at a crawl, a steady 2 knots.
This is fine. I'll still land us where we want. Probably what'll happen is I'll get us going down faster and then drive us over to about here.
So right now we're under 50 meters from the bottom of the ocean. We should start seeing land pretty soon. So we've just arrived to the bottom of the seafloor, and one of the things I didn't realize is just how close we are. It is right outside the window. Take a look. To directly quote Jeff, guys, we're gonna see a load of octopus. I'm pretty excited.
That's a quantifiable term, too.
It's so damn cool. Oh my gosh.
Our first task is finding a missing milk crate.
We were spending the majority of our time looking for a black milk crate.
So there's something missing.
Yes.
The octopus stole the milk crate.
Stole the milk crate.
Scientists planted the fluid sampler in a milk crate on a previous dive, and it went MIA. but we got this.
There it is, man. Just like you guys left it, I bet.
Next, we have found the Osmo sampler.
All right, thanks. No octopus sabotage.
We've recovered the infamous milk crate. We've looked around this area. So we're about to complete our second major mission of the day. And what is this instrument that you're calibrating?
Oxygen temperature sensor, and we're going to use that to stick it in some of these vents to determine how much hydrothermal water is coming out.
An abundance of octopus offer a stunning visual, but it's clear something unexpected is occurring.
Jeff, what are you seeing?
The place looks like it's dead.
When we deployed it, there was a lot of water coming out, and right now there's none. No signs of flow coming out whatsoever.
But it's still weird.
It's definitely still weird. I don't know how to explain it.
And this is how science works. What's confusing now could lead to a breakthrough tomorrow. Despite this 8-legged problem.
So they keep trying to set this temperature probe, but it keeps falling over, and of all things, octopus keep getting in the way, so.
As experiments lead to more questions, we begin our 2-mile ascent back to the surface.
I can see the surface in the camera, so it is going to be bright out.
Alvin Atlantis, read you loud and clear. Avon is on the way.
It was an amazing, successful dive. We've reached the surface, now we're just waiting to get towed in.
Roger on swimmers, Alvin diving.
Now back safe and sound aboard Atlantis, I get an icy reception. It's a ritual for first-timers, making me an official Alvinaut. Post-dive, the real work begins.
What we found was that there's water coming out of some springs, nothing coming out of others. And then some of the other ones where nothing was coming out, they started producing again.
He says the discovery is that ocean vents are affected by high and low tides, caused by lunar cycles. It's amazing that what's 2 miles deep can be influenced by what's over 200,000 miles above. In the Atlantis Science Lab, researchers are working 24/7, bagging, documenting, and freezing specimens from the deep for further studies back on land.
Half of the oxygen we breathe is made by microscopic organisms living in the ocean, which obviously has implications for energy and also for climate change.
Now we're talking deep ocean. It really is the final frontier of exploration here on Earth, and scientists are just now beginning to understand what lives down there and how it all works. But these scientists aren't the only ones interested.
Yeah, that scientific research has actually led to the discovery of a huge amount of resource down there in terms of ores and minerals and metals. And so there's this real rush to try and bring all of that to the surface.
You know, that rush is a delicate and potentially really contentious issue because we know so little about that environment, so it's tricky.
Tricky or not, deep sea mining, it's coming, and potentially within the next 2 years, and it may bring a lot of issues with it. Let's take a look.
These days, the new gold rush isn't in the hills, it's in the deep, at hydrothermal vents 2 miles down. Verified by the submersible Alvin in 1977. And no one knows this better than scientist Cindy Van Dover, professor at Duke University and Alvin's first female pilot. She now consults with the undersea mining industry.
We've been finding valuable minerals on the seafloor. Copper is one of the richest metals in the deposits that make up a hot spring. And gold and silver are kind of like bycatch in those systems.
For thousands of years, miners have been exploiting the Earth in search of precious metals. Being a finite resource, current estimates suggest the land on Earth could be picked clean of gold, silver and copper in just a few decades. So the search is on, under the sea. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Ocean Service estimates there is more than $150 trillion in gold waiting to be mined from the floor of the world's oceans.
So industry is moving very, very fast. They have far more financial resources than the scientific community.
Seabed mining is still in the planning stages, but Nautilus Minerals, a Canadian mining company, reports it has the technology and a contract in place with the island nation of Papua New Guinea to start mining in its waters in about 2 years. Nautilus Minerals already has an animation of its mining plans on its website. Here's how it works. In a closed system, a collection machine on the seabed breaks up the top layer of the ocean floor and pumps an ore-rich semi-liquid or slurry up to a production ship. There, the ore and water are separated and the ore is later transferred to a ship and brought to land. TechKnow contacted Nautilus Minerals for a comment on its undersea mining efforts, but they declined to accept our invitation.
There are people interested in harvesting the resources at the bottom of the seafloor. How can working with academics ensure that's done responsibly?
It's absolutely essential to have academia monitoring the activities of industry. Industry's motivation is to make profit. Industry does want to do their work in an environmentally conscious method because the result of not doing it that way are huge fines and which cut into their profits.
It was the discovery of hydrothermal vents that gained the interest of private mining companies. Similar to hot springs on land, it's where high temperatures quickly cool, forcing a chemical reaction between seawater and rocks, causing metals like copper, gold, silver, and zinc to form mineral deposits on the seabed. Cindy Van Dover was one of the first Alvin pilots to verify the existence of hydrothermal vents.
The discovery of hydrothermal vents for me was liberating as a scientist because all the rules that we knew seemed to be broken because of this chemosynthesis, this reliance on chemical energy, and to have dense life on the seafloor, that was breaking a rule.
Hydrothermal vents host unique sea life like fields of tube worms and white giant crabs that thrive in this hostile environment in complete darkness.
There's an immense amount of life down there. This is no different than on land. Just because it's on the bottom in the middle of the ocean doesn't mean it shouldn't be handled in the same manner as far as I'm concerned.
When it comes to the commercial mining, those rules still need to be made up. So there's this window of time where we can get policy in place pre-industrialization.
As exploration continues, there are two separate goals. For mining companies, it's the search for precious metals and profits. For scientists, it's the continued search for knowledge of the seabed, which remains, even now, almost entirely unexplored.
We can continue doing exploration side by side with industry. It's when industry is actually doing the extraction, when they're there with the big industrial tools, the scientific community will be there, I hope.
Now we all know the Apollo mission, it took us to the moon, but Alvin, it took us to the depths of the sea, and it's done so for decades.
A few vehicles are as emblematic as little Alvin, taking us to places unexplored.
And I can't believe it was built in the 60s and it's still going.
You know, they've been upgrading it over time, but it's this team that's working with Alvin, and they keep exploring and keep discovering more and more amazing things. It's quite the rich history. Let's take a look.
Scientists solved one of the great mysteries of the deep with these underwater images. The elusive Titanic was revealed to the world from over 5,000 feet under the North Atlantic. And Alvin made it all possible.
I know it was a very important event for the submarine. It brought great notoriety for the program.
These images from Alvin are the first to document in detail this underwater tomb. Alvin would ultimately make a dozen dives down to the Titanic, sealing its place in history. Alvin, a 50-year-old workhorse built for scientific exploration, is a pretty big deal. Operated by the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, the Navy-owned sub has seen things and done things that most only dream of. I got to be an Alvinaut for a day, And when those lights go on, a bold new world opened through these portholes.
It looks like a world I have never seen. There are octopus everywhere, amazing coral.
4,700 dives, thousands of scientific papers, hundreds of new species discovered, all attributed to this nimble submarine. Certified by the Navy in 1965, it wouldn't be long before Alvin would get the call of duty, becoming a Cold War hero. The problem was known as the Polymerase Incident, a 1966 mid-air collision of a B-52 carrying 4 hydrogen bombs. One went missing, the search was on, and Alvin found it. Since then, Alvin has been on the forefront of discovery. Scientist Cindy Van Dover was the first female Alvin pilot.
You're down on the seafloor, you're driving over what looks like a desert, and then you come across this oasis of these giant white tube worms and the red plumes. There's crabs all over them. It's just thick and full of life.
For its 50th birthday, Alvin got a $41 million makeover that takes it to even greater depths and gave it a bigger view of the undersea world.
The old sub had 3 usable viewports, and now we've got 5. The viewports are significantly larger than the old ones were, too.
Other upgrades include a 3-inch thick titanium inner core, allowing it to dive as deep as 4 miles. Although it no longer has a single component from its 1964 predecessor, the little sub remains Alvin in heart and soul.
I felt like we were in a spaceship. Because the thing is floating based on buoyancy, I think I would be just as excited if I were on the surface of Mars as I was seeing what was down there. You know, so many of these scientists we talk to, they say eventually people will be mining down there. But the matter is, how are we going to approach it? Are we going to do it right?
I'm concerned. I mean, this kind of thing does scare me a bit, precisely because we know so little. And we're talking about gold, we're talking about silver and copper. I mean, my question is, do we have to? I mean, do we have to exploit this? Do we have to go down there and pull that stuff out?
And those materials and metals that you mention are essential for electronics, which we all seem to not be able to live without. But there seems to be a lot of those in landfill, for example. So why can't we maybe put that technology towards recycling what's already on our land mass rather than going so deep?
Exactly. Maybe focus on managing our resources better that we already have rather than just looking for the next best option. I'll tell you what, being down there and seeing the bottom of the ocean with my own eyes, it was such an impactful experience for me that it kind of hurts my heart a little bit to think that there could be people going down there who would destroy it and exploit it.
It seems like the commercial aspect needs to almost have the brakes put on a bit so the science can catch up.
Phil, promise me that next time you voyage to the bottom of the ocean, you'll take me along with you.
And me.
I will do my best, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done, so the next time I'm in a submarine, you guys come right along. It'll be great. We'll see some weird creatures and maybe some gold. Well, that's it for my Alvin adventure. Be sure to check in next time here on TechKnow.
Dive deep into these stories and go behind the scenes at aljazeera.com/techknow. Follow our expert contributors on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, and more.